What's up, big cat? Big cat.
All right, Piquet.
Oh, hey,
Where's this
we're on
where's
the
this cat stuff
PCast.
coming from?
We're on the PCast.
This is a Paul thing. Paul Gagliardi. He's going to be mentioned.
Friend of the
seconds.
show. Friend of the show, Paul Gagliardi.
He's making. This is his surprise appearance that we were talking about on LinkedIn.
It was.
No, he really wants to
touted
come
LinkedIn.
on. Yeah, he wants to come on for real though.
I don't know if we can handle that. Can we handle Paul Gagliardi on this show? Is our editing capability good enough?
Don't need to edit. Don't need to edit perfection. Don't.
All right.
Guys, we're on a new platform today. I don't like it at all. And I'll call it out. Riverside, not happy.
We banned Riverside. Yeah.
StreamYard up their prices. Not happy about that. I feel like the whole world's
Like 10. Just to be clear, like 10x their price.
10x their price. Yeah.
With very little warning, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Little warning.
Nearly no warning. They're like, you'll notice when it hits your bill.
We are struggling for sponsors.
Let's not criticize them too much because we might have to go back to stream.
Yeah, because they might be better.
They will happily. I bet they'll take our money.
Yeah. They're like, not after you've disparaged us like that.
They do not care who we are.
Yeah.
So we are, Dylan, you stop saying the cast. It's very douchey when nobody likes it. No, sorry, the pod. The pod, too douchey.
Okay.
No. That's where we're going to start calling it the PCast.
Yeah, that's where the PCAT came from, because he's talking about the PCast, P''cast, because he thought pod was too ridiculous to say it like that, and I was shorthanding it on text message.
It's a bit wanky, not going to lie. I'm not going to like it.
Right.
Hey, so
we
guess what I
haven't
found?
podcast in a while. Oh, what did you find out?
Well, no, not since Peter and I had a lovely party that Dylan
Without
could
me.
go to.
Yeah, I remember that.
Ooh.
I remember when you were in the
Got out of
shed.
control, Doug.
It did get out of control. We
Shed
got a
of
bill.
betrayal.
Yeah, you should
We're
get
back.
shed.
Yeah.
We had, I believe, 150 or so people, of the finest people in insurtech and insurance and the New York community.
Yeah. We really did. We were meant to have we had 80 invited, 120 signed up, and 150 turned up. So it's like the opposite of parties Doug and I tend to host.
Yeah.
Remember, we did a party in Chicago.
We had 4 people.
We'd had an entire half of the bar reserved. And yeah,
Drank a bit of champagne.
So no issues getting drinks.
No issues getting drinks,
No.
lots of food. I think it was our good buddy Dave Delaney showed up, John from WorldLink, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? The crew from Blitz, a couple of those guys showed up.
It was a nice group still. It
was still fun. But yeah, it was, I think everybody was looking at us as well, who are these losers with 5 people in a nice club?
Yeah. Whereas we were the cool kids in New York.
We were, finally. It's good to be loved or hated. What I was going to say is I found out who's sending us all these anonymous hate messages. It's Evan from Chubb.
Oh, fair enough.
That
We
makes
did
sense. That makes
criticize him
sense.
heavily, yeah.
After the hate LinkedIn posts. I get it.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, do you like my merchandise? I think this is my Axon crisis management hat, which is super cool. And I think it's a big encouragement for us to say that, guys, if you're an MGA and you send us merchandise, we will wear it on this podcast, right?
Even if it's too small for us.
Well, especially if it's too
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Scout. Yeah. You should have realized that Doug was going to gain that extra 20 pounds since the last time you saw him. Yeah.
Cool. I'm gaining weight every day, Don. Because I just sit here and record podcasts. I don't get outside and walk around.
Yeah.
We should do a walking podcast.
Ooh, I like it.
Get our steps in.
I like it.
Something else I was thinking about, because I looked at the comments on YouTube the other day.
Did you look at them, or did I send them to you?
Well, whatever. I was made aware of the comments
from 11 and 12 months ago, and we were also made aware that it's our 1-year anniversary because of YouTube.
Well, I think everyone should know that in terms of managing our YouTube account, Dylan and Doug actually only have access to it since about 2 days ago, despite the show being 1 year old.
Because I do this for love of the game.
Was it 2 days ago or 1 day ago that I got access? I feel like it was a day ago. Yeah.
I noticed a loss ratio comment, 2% loss ratio comment. And it made me think, we've never talked about the original 0% loss ratio, Curtis Goldberg. And I wonder if he watches this and he's like, why don't these guys mention my loss ratio?
Wow. That's an interesting thought. Well, we're not going to tell him that we said this. And we'll see if it gets back to him. It might get back to him in other ways. He's probably not going to watch, let's be honest.
Yeah.
He's not in the MGA space exactly. He's in the inspection world.
For MGAs?
For anything property. I'm sure NJs would hire him or have hired him.
Do you think he helps get a 0% loss ratio? Do you think he helped those guys get a 2% loss ratio?
Well, maybe we need to get him on the show and find out.
Yeah. I feel like he should sponsor before we get him on the show, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. If you want to talk about sponsorships, please message Peter Tilburg.
We're putting some sponsorship packages together.
Message one of us who will respond.
Exactly.
Only, what, $10,000 an episode?
Yeah.
To know $10,000 to have a conversation, I think is the
About the episode?
yeah.
Let's not discourage people actively to sponsoring the show.
There's a few I'd like to discourage from ever reaching out to me.
Okay, well, that's great. Since I pissed off Evan and Chubb, we'll never get them. And that's the only person who would actually be willing to maybe spend that much money.
You pissed off Evan. I'm pissing off all the little payment wankers. And after that, I have a great wanker story, by the way, where a friend of mine didn't realize it was a swear word in the UK and went up to a border agent and said, I'm with this wanker back here.
I mean, it's pretty sure it's fine.
All right. Peter, who do we have on today? I see James waiting in the waiting room patiently. I think we should let him in, but
we should. Yeah, we
maybe
have
give
James from
a little intro.
James from Verde Underwriting. So Verde, a bit like all great companies named after a Spanish word. Verde for green, Loro for parrot, and he is underwriting. Yeah, of course, got to do it. Yeah, I met James a few weeks ago and was really interested by his business and particularly the kind of origin story of how they spun it out and some of the plans they have and what the initial focus was and how they've pivoted. So a really great story of a true kind of typical great MGA operator that we just had to get on the show.
Love it. Love it. The other thing I don't like about this platform is James can't hear anything we're saying. So we're really just going to...
Oh, I could have made a much more negative intro then. Yeah. Okay.
We're just going to pop him right in and he's not going to know what's going on.
Let's do it.
So
Pop.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Hello, James.
Hey, James.
Hey, James.
Buddy.
Yeah.
Good. Thanks. We are live, so feel free to swear or do whatever you like. It's no problem on our podcast.
I'll be on best behavior, don't you worry.
Yeah. We're testing out this new platform and none of us are really happy with it. How did you feel about the waiting room experience? Because I don't think it's doing justice for us. Normally guests get to listen in to our pre-show banter, which gets them warmed up, and you just got thrown right into the fire.
Yeah, no, the waiting room experience was there wasn't an experience, shall we say? It was an empty room.
Yeah, Riverside, do you hear that? Like, let's up the game a bit. Well, James, I'm excited to Peter gave a little bit of an intro for you again that you couldn't hear. And it was very lovely, though. So excited to hear about the Spanish origins of Verde.
To caveat, I said the name had Spanish origins. James' story is fun.
That's because every English word has been taken with the .com ending. So
yeah, that's also true.
Gotta go Spanish.
As I say, James does sound very Spanish. So.
There is absolutely, no Spanish links other than it was a very cool sounding name when we were going through that process. It's also Italian as well, so
there we go.
Well, yeah, let's dive in. Let's hear about what you're building and the origin story, whatever you're privy to share.
Yeah, cool. So I'll kind of give you a very short overview. Obviously, I'm not sure what Peter's done already, but Verde was founded in 2023 by myself and my business partner, James Reynolds, focusing on specialty risk and particularly financial lines within that. We kind of spotted the gap in the market that we could utilize ESG as an edge for underwriting, so kind of modeled the business on that. We were a part of a bigger Lloyd's group until January of this year, and we've spun out to be an independent cover holder Lloyd's cover holder as of January this year. So yeah, super exciting, lots going on, but yeah, it's been a great start to the year.
Nice, very cool. Well, excited to hear more about the cover holder process, because I think that's something in the US that is more of a secret. People don't understand how to do it and the benefits of it. So do want to talk about that a bit, but maybe curious as well, like how you kind of came across this opportunity and how you convinced, maybe your family or, your supporters to remove yourself from probably a secure position in the insurance world, but then also, the founding team around you, how you guys kind of decided to get together.
Yeah, so myself and the other co-founder, James, we were friends before. We never actually worked together. We were always competitors, but like all good things, started with a conversation in the pub about, an idea as to how we felt like the industry could do things better. and then snowballed from there. And it got to a position where we actually thought there was a tangible product there. The stage of walking away from kind of very safe, quite successful underwriting careers at established houses was daunting, to say the least. But yeah, once we'd kind of got it to a point that we were very confident that it was going to get off the ground, we had good people around us in terms of the platform that we used to launch the business originally, and now we're an appointed representative of Asta Underwriting, and Asta are kind of one of the, if not the biggest kind of supporter of many Lloyd's businesses, and they do a lot of the kind of back office operational work, which I think for us as underwriters, that side of the business we know very well, but all of the other parts of insurance, which are equally as important, we weren't as familiar with, and they were kind of the most daunting prospect for us. So yeah, to have somebody help us on that side of the fence so that we can focus on underwriting, which ultimately is what we want to be doing, is fantastic.
You said, James, you were friends with your partner. James, are you still friends today?
Absolutely not. Strictly professional. No, yeah, of course, as a small team, I think it's kind of that culture and that kind of camaraderie, just it helps so much. So yeah, having that relationship before it's been so helpful. We know each other. We're very familiar, very similar in terms of our kind of outlook and stuff like that. So it's been good. Definitely, obviously, always a risk stepping away from that, outside of that friend relationship into now a professional one. But yeah, like fantastic. Hopefully, he also says the same.
Dylan, no claims questions?
I'm not going to hit him with claims right away. That poor man would hate me. But so I guess I do have a question for you, though. On the kind of ESG front and going that direction, what made you go down that road? Because that's an interesting thing, because I think that's something that there's some risk there. And not about insurance risk. I mean, I think there's certainly that kind of comes and goes politically, right? And this is not something we normally discuss on the show. It's more so, but we've had a couple guests have either conversations about that or something similar in the basis of their business dealings. So I guess what made you go down that road? Do you think that's something that you'll want to continue to stick with, given, the constant ebb and flow of more liberal, more conservative voices?
And James, before you answer, just know that Dylan has a lot of guns, so do with that information what you're doing.
That's just because I'm American. That has nothing to do with anything else.
So yeah, I think so. To taking back that question, so the first thing that we always are very clear on is that we kind of don't use ESG for virtual signaling or just to only say we underwrite companies that are already green. Is that we use ESG because we genuinely think that there is underwriting edge there and it helps us with speed of decision. So it's not necessarily all about kind of, yes, it is morally can be a good thing to do, but that's not what Verde looks to do. It's about creating underwriting edge. And kind of how we got there was in formation of the business is looking for a niche that everybody is looking for, a way that you can kind of outcompete our peers. And we assessed data on thousands of companies, and we saw a pattern that just better ESG scores led to kind of better risk management, which in turn leads to improved loss ratios. And that was true of nearly all of the product lines that we were already operating within, but also of several more product lines that we were also looking at in our research. So it was just a good decision for us to do that. And at the time, there was a different president in charge of the US, and Lloyd was much more focused on all things ESG. So again, it was very helpful. That has changed since then, and potentially there is less of a focus on it from a kind of a media perspective, and a Lloyd's focus is less. But for Verde and the underwriting edge that it still gives us, that hasn't changed. We're still very much, that is core to our principles.
I would imagine if. I was just going to say, go on, Dylan. Go on.
Just very interested in this.
Yeah. No, does that preclude some of the smaller companies? Because I do find in general, more risk management comes with more mature companies. And I know there's a whole bunch of small companies that are like, hey, no, we try. A lot of times that's on paper. That's not really doing much if you're a small company and you have an ESG, kind of focus. You really have to get into some pretty big companies and therefore probably big premiums. So do you think that affects the size of the company that you're working with?
No, so we cover all bases. So we have some products that are very much focused at large, S&P 500 type risk and FTSE 100 type businesses. So clearly there's reams and reams of data available around these companies. They are mostly mandated to make public disclosures around this topic. So of course we can access what we need to for those businesses, but also the model that we've built behind the scenes enables us to, if it's a very small private company, we can it's quite often inferred data, but we can very often provide a view as to what we feel like that business will offer on an ESG perspective, and we can, we can form a view of nearly every size company.
I would guess that if it's coming out of the news a bit and losing some of its luster, it might be to your benefit because you can actually see maybe which companies are continuing to walk the walk rather than just having it as window dressing. So it might not be that bad of a thing for you all that it is moving out of or moving on to new interests more publicly. I was curious, are you operating just in the EU and the UK right now, or are you global?
Yeah, so Verde is a Lloyd UK business, and we have our Lloyd's platform, which enables us to underwrite globally using the Lloyd's network. So that is great, but we only have a London presence at the moment.
I meant are you writing policies though globally?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so our biggest markets are North America, UK, Europe.
So I was wondering if like Europe had more of a walk the walk with their companies on the ESG stuff versus the US, which I do think, given companies move much more with the political climate, I feel like here. And so we'll kind of use whatever administrations in power and whatever kind of like the topic du jour is and move towards that direction. Whereas I feel like Europe is maybe less concerned. They've always been more focused, I think, on, sustainability and things like that. So do you notice a difference between the two companies, like the two companies from the two geographies in that?
Yeah, I think it's probably fair to say that European entities are maybe further ahead, but that doesn't mean to say that, North America is still a huge part of our portfolio, and we're very much comfortable with the work that entities are doing there. And as I say, it's something that we use as underwriting edge. It never precludes us from writing a risk. It just might mean that if one company has the most stellar ESG framework, that just enables them to access, our best underwriting terms, our biggest limits, our, most competitive premiums, our broadest policy wordings, versus if a company is less well regarded from an ESG perspective, we might still write that with risk, but it just might be under different circumstances. So yeah, I think going back to the original question, Europe is further ahead, but yeah, we still see great business elsewhere as well.
It'd be cool for you to do a comparison of Turris versus Loro to see which one of us is more sustainable. I feel like it might be Turris.
Do you know what? It's funny you say that, Doug. I'm actually filling out a sustainability form today. So maybe you don't want to get into that argument.
Listen,
Peter, I definitely want you to get in that argument. Please.
I'm not going to lie. I did an RFP where we had Claude build us a very nice ESG package of policies. And my co-founder felt very uncomfortable publishing those. He's German. And he's like, I don't know if any of this is true. I was like, it's like true-ish. So we're good to go. So James, don't underwrite any of policy. If you see tourists come across, maybe for the next year.
That's automatically a red flag in this system.
Mostly on the governance part.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I liked when we met and spoke, so I think it's really going above and beyond what a lot of MGAs do. And we talk a lot on this show, James, about ideas for people starting to start an MGA and how they can stand out, differentiate themselves. One of the things I really liked about you was you created this. You not only identified that gap in the market or that focus, but you created your kind of tech tools and algorithm around that to give you better power to underwrite kind of logically with that information to hand. Maybe you could talk through a little bit that thought process and how you actually did it.
Yeah, sure. So kind of what we did is as you say, tried to put that ESG lens into our traditional kind of underwriting metrics. So the rating system that we use, we put an inbuilt ESG methodology into that. So we obtain third-party data, which feeds our system. We then overlay different variables onto that. As to a lot of ESG data that's available publicly is very much geared to, is that business going to be a financial success or not? I think the main buyers of ESG data remain banks and asset managers. So it's not overly useful for us as insurers. So it was about manipulating that data into a way that we could use it for insurers, where the end goal was risk management and avoiding liability that was being incurred. So we overlaid a bunch of different industry variables, focus areas for us, and we could manipulate those scores into a way that we felt was much more useful. And as I said, that creates the underwriting edge for us. And not only that, it enables us to make those decisions much quicker because the tech is embedded into everything that we do. So if it ticks the box, it's a very fast yes. If it doesn't, it's also a very fast no, and we can move on to the next deal.
James, quick question, because everything you're doing is admitted, right? As far as in the U.S. market, because I don't know the European equivalent to that, but the admitted market, not excess and surplus lines, correct?
So most of what we do is surplus lines.
It's mostly surplus lines? Okay.
Yep.
Because it's just interesting because there's the complete opposite view, right? Which is the James Shervers of the world, the Kinsales, the Markells that are going after, firearms manufacturers, gentlemen's clubs, mining operations. I would say not super ESG friendly, but found significant profits in that. So I guess what is it that you're doing with the data? What are you trying to find in this, which goes exactly counter to a lot of the US E&S carriers?
Yeah. So again, it's not about saying we're not going to write certain sectors because they're perceived to be bad sectors from a ESG perspective. It's about using those same characteristics that form ESG scores and views as to identifying the risk characteristics within that. So for every oil and gas company, there's going to be a bunch of good ones and a bunch of bad ones. And it's about how do we identify those? And we can use the ESG data to identify that. So we still have some mining companies in our portfolio, which you obviously wouldn't associate with.
No, I wasn't. That's what I'm totally
ESG risk. And that's why I'm saying we don't use it as a tool to only write green businesses. It genuinely is just, we see it as part of the underwriting process. That creates the edge for us.
Okay.
So not to just rule out whole industry sectors, because when I go back to that original conversation where we were in the pub and we were, having the chat about wouldn't it be cool if businesses did certain things, one of the main focus points for us was broad brush underwriting parameters that big firms set on underwriting teams. And we think back to COVID, and hospitality and leisure was majorly impacted at that point in time. So a lot of big businesses would just say, look, we simply can't write any airlines, we can't write any hotels, we can't write any restaurant chains. And it's okay, that might be prudent for some, but it doesn't mean that they're all bad. Sure. So it's like, how do you still find good business within those, more perceived difficult areas? And that's how we look at using the ESG data.
Sure. Yeah, sorry, I had a total misunderstanding of that then. So that's really fascinating.
And Paul just texted me and wanted to know more about the gentleman's club coverage. if you were writing any of those.
Poor Paul. Now he's being dragged. The poor guy. He's not even here.
Big cat can handle it.
Do you know something that's interesting, Dylan? So we talked at the start of the show, right, about Doug mentioned about coverholder status at Lloyd's and why so many people look for that both in the UK and in Europe. But it's exactly what you said, Dylan, and I know everyone on this call knows this, for people considering where to get capacity from and options. The beauty of getting Lloyd's capacity means you can write in 80 countries, more or less. And in the US, it's a surplus lines insurer too. So it's huge potential from that one agreement to then expand globally, as James and team are doing.
Yeah, let's get into that. That's
Well, look, I do want to get into that. I want to mention. I won't mention names, but there's a couple. I feel like there's this barbell of understanding, at least in the U.S., what a cover holder is and what it can do for you. And there's like the really brilliant operators that do it, and there's all the people in between, including myself at one point, where it's just like, I don't really get this. And then I feel like there's new entrants who don't barely know what an MGA is, and then all of a sudden they're like they're starting to work with Lloyd's, and they're like, yeah, we're on track for a cover holder status. And we have a couple customers like that are doing really interesting things. And Peter, to your point, they realize that what they're doing in the US is really the first part. So like we have an energy infrastructure MGA that we're working with that is primarily doing their capacity through Lloyd's now. And their goal is to really expand that out and use the cover holder to do that, the eventual cover holder. So yeah, James, like I'd love to get into what it is, right, and how to work towards that, and then the benefits of it, which we kind of went through already.
And James, for morons like myself, I mean, break it down really simple, because there's a lot of there's a lot of listeners, a lot of interest.
I'm more moron than Dylan. I like to beat Dylan at everything.
For all our big listeners in Africa, right? We did the stats the other day on the podcast, and we found out that we have
a lot
4
of
people in Africa who listen to us. So it's amazing.
And that was all because we had a South African CEO on the show.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about him. We got to go golfing in South Africa.
That's right.
Sorry, James. Back to you.
No worries. So Lloyd, as Peter touched on now, that is still kind of recognised as the industry kite mark for us. So for us as credibility as an MGA, having a Lloyd just is fantastic. It opens up so many doors for us from a geographic standpoint, and we set ourselves up using a Lloyd's consortium stamp. So just from an operational standpoint, it means we're kind of seen to be the same as a syndicate. So when brokers are looking to pay you premium, when brokers are looking to set up claims with us, it's all done in the same way that it is with a syndicate. So it enables us as an MGA to operationally just stand on the same kind of basis as a syndicate. So there's kind of it's one barrier to entry that we remove as to why people wouldn't come to us to place their business. So that was first and foremost why we did it. Becoming a Lloyd's cover holder is a convoluted process. I don't know enough about it as to whether there's multiple different ways you can do it, but the way that we had to access this was we had to be sponsored by our lead capacity provider, who is a syndicate at Lloyd's, Verde Syndicate. They do a whole bunch of due diligence on us as a business, as to the operational kind of framework that we have that sits behind us, all of the policies and procedures that ensures that we're doing things in the right way. And once you do this very extensive process, you then become approved, and you have to do this. You have to be approved for the class of business that you write. You have to be approved for the territories that you want to write in. So even though Lloyd's does have access to the 80 territories that Peter mentioned, you do not get those just by virtue of being a Lloyd's cover holder. You have to apply quite often individually, but certainly in bulk to a number of those different territories. And that's where I mentioned Asta before at the start of the process, that they were fantastic. We also have a brilliant binder brokerage, Dennison and Partners, who support us on this Lloyd's journey. So the network of people that supports us is incredibly important, as ultimately we are underwriters, and that's what we want to focus on. Since having an MGA, we've had to learn very quickly about the other side of the fence. Yeah, it's difficult sometimes.
What are some of the drawbacks, James, to being a Lloyd's cover holder? Are there any frustrations or negatives that you've seen?
I think it's a difficult setup process. It's more timely if you want to launch a business and you go down the non-Lloyd's route. I think there'd be a very strong argument to say that your speed to market would be much quicker.
What is that timeline like?
It's fairly, I'd say it's at least 6 months, I'd say, to get the setup, probably longer. We were lucky that we were already within a Lloyd's business and spun out, so we had a lot of the procedures in place already. We use Asta, who are very much the kind of the specialist in that market, and we had a Lloyd's broker already, so we had a lot of the infrastructure in place. So I'd say our speed to market was quite quick.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, in the US, trying to deal with 50 states and all the Department of Insurance or their equivalent names for each state, that'll take you 6 months. There's states where individual states. Now, you could also be up and running in a month. If you had everything else done, you could, in under a month, you could be writing in, certain states.
If you use tourists.
Yeah, I mean, if you use tourists, sure. Yeah. Second plug of the day. Am I the only one that's not going to plug themselves just directly?
This episode will be sponsored by Typhon.
It's perfect.
What was my other plug? I don't remember. I remember
Laura had Peter made one for Laura.
Yeah, but Laura's a real company.
Yeah,
those guys are
they're
doing big things.
So real quick, if you're the one of the trickiest things of dealing with in the international business is dealing with all the regulations, all the nonsense. Then maybe this is a very tourist focused question, actually. But, you said North America. I don't know if that includes Canada and Mexico, but, everybody, each place has certainly their own regulations. And then when the US, obviously the disaster of having 50 different states with 50 different regulations, dealing with the taxes, dealing with absolutely everything that's related to this. Not just support, but are there tools? Is this part of the process of getting the cover holder status? What's there for you to deal with that? Because that's a nightmare.
Yeah. So I guess being very frank, that is why we went down the Lloyd's route, because that is exactly what it gives you. It gives you the framework to trade in those territories. There's processes where the taxes are remitted on your behalf, via the framework that Lloyd's already has in place. So
you don't even have to think about that piece, really? I mean, other than
so not that you don't have to think about it, but your solution is given to you by virtue of going down that process. So that is the appeal.
It's usually
in addition to the kite mark element that I spoke about. If speak to people globally about specialty insurance, I think most people would mention the word Lloyd's of London in that sentence.
Yeah. Sure. I feel like we did this, Dylan, at Stable for a bit, where we had a Lloyd's broker, we had our wholesale broker, and they did all I think the brokerages between the two of them did a lot of the compliance work. So James, maybe you see that as well, like the heavy lifting of like what taxes need to be paid. Do we have the right forms here for this specific state? Is this being exited out of Lloyd's correctly from the brokerage perspective? I would guess a lot of that is still the same. This is like 6 years ago that we were doing this, but that infrastructure layer is really handled more from the brokerage side.
Yeah, exactly. That's particularly on the taxes, for example, the tax schedules as to the premiums and how that is broken down. That work is facilitated by the brokers, absolutely.
And I'm assuming, obviously, you're only doing this in one direction, but I'm assuming for someone in the US market, if they were going through the same process, they would get the same benefits going to those other 80 countries. So UK included, the rest of Europe included. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't definitively know the answer to that. But my assumption would be, my assumption would be the same as yours. Yeah.
Dylan, I actually do have claims questions, so I'll let you get to them, because I think this is the other interesting aspect, is how this, we're talking about the flow of funds back up to Lloyd's, but maybe talking about the flow out from a claims perspective, who's handling that for you, how those flow of funds works, I think would be interesting to chat about, to the extent, James, that you're willing or, have some knowledge on that.
Yes, I think for us, it's the claims process. It's, I guess, by using the Lloyd's platform, it's a very well-trodden path. So our brokers are very familiar with that. So that gives comfort. Lloyd has its own claims platform, which enables the claims to be notified. And then in terms of the settlement and the taxation and elements like that again, is using the established frameworks, and the licensing enables claims to be paid into the territories of which you need to get the claims payments into. So that is, kind of one of the fundamental pieces for us, particularly in some of the lines of business that we do. If you take directors and officers insurance, for example, is very much reliant on us being able to indemnify directors globally, depending on, people move around. Like, just because they are based in the US and they bought the policy in the US, when they actually need it, it might be because that, are requiring legal indemnification in Brazil or India or one of these difficult territories where it's quite often hard to get money into territory. So that, I think, is one of the unique selling points of a Lloyd's platform.
What does a claims look like as far as like first notice of loss? Is that the broker usually reaching out at that point and kicking
Yep.
that process off?
Yeah, so Lloyd's broker uses the Lloyd's platform to notify. That informs the the distribution channel. So very often you have a Lloyd's lead market, which we do. First and foremost, it goes to those guys, and then the notification kind of trail continues. We have 3 syndicates on our Lloyd's consortium. We also have a non-Lloyd's platform as well, but on our Lloyd's platform, there's 3 syndicates there. So yeah, it manages that for us.
It's also okay. I feel like maybe you're being humble and you're like, I just don't know because we're so good at underwriting. We don't have to pay out any claims right now.
Just
Sadly,
0% loss ratio.
2% loss ratio, maybe.
2%,
Let's give
yeah.
them a 2%. Yeah.
yeah, I wish.
Oh goodness. So for on the US side, I guess, are you all hiring a TPA, or is this through Lloyd's to hire the TPA in the States?
No, for our Lloyd's platform, the claims are handled by the Lloyd's lead, which is Faraday.
Yeah.
For our non-Lloyd's platform, we use a TPA here in the UK, a specialist financial lines firm called Catons.
Nice. Very cool. Well, Doug, to be quite frank, I can't speak to claims in Europe. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I feel like we should
know
spend
nothing
some
about it.
time exploring claims in Europe and maybe making some claims in Europe.
Making
as
some
Americans.
claims.
Making
All right.
some claims.
Let's go to Europe and make some claims.
Yeah. I feel like it's a very American thing to do on vacation.
Just go make some claims.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit, James, about the type of products, because we mentioned financial lines.
Yeah.
I know from our conversation previous to this recording, there's some interesting stuff that you're focusing on, kind of the crime space and some others. And your website as well. I mean, there's some aspects from here that I know would get Doug's attention and interest big time, which is kind of the digital assets focus and things like that. So love to get into some of that.
Sure. So I guess our focus has been on more complex or emerging risk areas. So when you talk about ESG, moving towards digital kind of platforms, particularly that include the use of digital assets, and the market is evolving rapidly, it's kind of where our interest sits. So it's something that we can do to ensure that as an MGA, we're helping insurance keep pace with those kind of emerging technologies and do that in a way that still adopts the traditional kind of disciplines and structures that the Lloyd's market is kind of akin to. And so it's something that we're super interested in. So the product lines that we have are very much traditional product lines, but it's how can we adapt and evolve those to suit kind of the way that the world is transitioning to. So you touched upon our crime product there. Crime is first and foremost a fraud product. It started off as, employees with their hands in the till, essentially, and that's now very much developed into most of the losses that we see stem from cyber type scenarios. So, social engineering type losses, phishing, business email compromise, these types of frauds. And it's, can we create products or embed things into our policy wordings that enable us to prevent those losses? So one of the things that we're looking at on our crime product is partnering with a tech platform to use biometric data and use blockchain to hopefully eliminate any form or possibility of a business email compromise type fraud, which is still one of the the fundamental areas where we see losses stemming from. So that's a really interesting space that's coming for us, and that's interesting. And you touched on digital assets there, so that's bringing traditional management liability, directors and officers, corporate legal liability type products to those types of clients. There's lots of good insurers in London kind of doing different things there. The brokers are very forward thinking. But another area that is really interesting for us at the moment is intangible businesses with a lot of intangible assets as to how they, obtain insurance. So one of the products that we've got is collateral protection insurance, and that's businesses insuring their intangible assets, so i.e. their intellectual property, and using that as collateral for them to obtain loans. So a lot of tech startup type businesses can access funding via the banks in the form of debt, as opposed to having to give away equity, which traditionally founders have had to do, and probably every co-founder or founder of a business does not want to give away the equity in that business. So coming up with frameworks that enable businesses to do this is, like, for us as insurers, is super interesting, and we're really helping our clients in that regard.
That sounds great.
I love the fact, because we talk about this a lot as well. It's just like people forget how important insurance is to every aspect of the economy, just allowing any company to take risks. But I love the fact that you're thinking about how to potentially build almost more truly financial products, right? How can we help, not from a loss perspective, but from actually making
funding,
giving you the ability to have more funding options, I think is very cool. Given the fact that you're doing a lot of work in the EU, I'm curious, like, how, like, do you find your best customers are in the Netherlands, like your best policyholders?
Note his last name.
Just kidding.
Some of the most competitively priced premiums.
There we go.
Because they're so safe.
So they must be, by that token, they must be the best risk.
Yeah, I think so. Hold on, Dylan. Hold on. As a follow-on, this is important stuff. Not totally switching gears, but World Cup coming up, and I'm curious, like, after England's knocked out, why you'll be supporting the Netherlands after that, and is it because of the policyholders there and the great risk they are? And do you want me to send you some KNVB kit? I'm happy to do so. We've had a prior guest on the show, and I've given some kit to. So
I'm not sure orange is my color.
Oh man, this is.
We need a green team.
It was going so well for a while.
Yeah.
All right, I have much more important questions. Like, who is Satoshi? You're an expert. You say. I want to know. I want names. People are saying that
it's the $1 million question.
Probably it is Satoshi.
Is that true? They've been saying that.
There's rumor for Adam Beck, for like 4 other people. There was just this big article out about it in the last 2-3 days that named a whole bunch of possibilities. It's a hot topic right now.
Some great theories out there. It could be teams of people from some of the articles that you see. So
okay, all right. Well, James, here's the thing.
It's not me.
If you blink sometime in the rest of this podcast, you're admitting that you are him. So I just want to let you know.
That's some breaking.
I'm watching. Oh, he did it. It's over.
Yeah, I can assure you that it's not. I wouldn't still be working. I think the amount of
$80 billion in Bitcoin isn't enough for you.
I'd be on a beach.
Passion of insurance that brings you here. It's okay. Yeah. All right. More important questions. What do you got, Peter?
Peter, you're a British insurance expert. I kind of feel like you need to.
An expert on anything. No, for me, like I said, I think we covered the key points about why you started and why it happened. But I'm interested a little bit to the human side of it, James. So you talked about, we like getting into this with our guests. So you talked about the risk of leaving a larger corporation. And I guess that kind of been on a couple of journeys. You did that, and then you had this spin out from where you were with that. Talk us through you as James making those decisions with where life is.
Yeah, so I think I've had the benefit of being on the broking side. I've been on the underwriting side with traditional big carrier, and now on the MGA side. So seeing risk from lots of different angles is great. Still just missing the claims piece. So I have to come and join Dylan at some point. But so I guess taking that step was clearly a risk. I mean, I felt like I was at a point in my career where I'd built up enough experience that if it didn't work out, that I guess there was the fallback that you could go back. But again, we'd got it to a point where we'd spent so much time developing that actually we were very confident in the product that we'd created. Doesn't mean to say that it was smooth sailing whatsoever. So we had the first iteration of business plan, which was very much ready to go. And it was at the point that the Russia-Ukraine conflict had really just kind of kicked off, and big scare to global markets, and our product lines being heavily linked to the financial lines just meant that first iteration of the plan just went out of the window, and we had to, go back to drawing board, and it delayed us by 6 months. And we'd already quit our jobs at this point. So both myself and the other James were in an interesting place at that point in time. I was playing a lot more golf, but but yeah, it was quite stressful. And now, yeah, we're very grateful that because of the people that we managed to meet along the way and partner with along the way, that it did come to fruition. And the platform that we had originally that enabled Verde to kind of develop whilst being under the kind of watch of bigger Lloyd's platform was great for us, just what we needed at that point in time. And then now we've kind of built up enough of our own knowledge base and understanding of all of the non just underwriting side of it that we felt confident enough that we could step outside and do that for ourselves independently as of January.
What's your handicap, James?
Officially a 12, but I can't remember the last time I played to that.
That's impressive.
I'm not sure where they come up with these numbers.
I was going to suggest we go golfing, but I don't think so anymore. Not with that handicap.
James, real quick, you talked a lot about platforms that you, of course, have access to. So when you're building then your own platform, is it really just like an underwriting workbench is really what you're creating for yourself with your own, your secret sauce, essentially? Is that the part of technology that you need to build once you're a cover holder?
Yeah, so the bit that we are confident of from our underwriting side is that we've got the distribution channels, we've got the underwriting expertise, and we can kind of create the edge and access the niche products and stuff. That side of it is our bread and butter. The platforms that we kind of create around that we either access via third-party specialists. So if that's a tech platform that we need to support our broker portals, we would access that externally. When we're looking at how do we embed some of the ESG data, is that we come up with all the ideas, and then again we go to external companies to help us build that out and embed that into our models. When we look at things like operational and regulatory support, again, that is outsourced. So I think for us, it's about just not being afraid to access kind of the specialisms when we need them. And that's, I guess that's where I talk about having access to those platforms, is that London is potentially uniquely positioned that you got it within a square mile. We've got access to so many resources that we could need, in addition to all of our brokers being there as well. So we're very fortunate in that regard.
The London insurance community, sorry, Dylan, is, I don't want to get off topic, but
you will.
There's been people, I'm going to, since during the conversation. In the US, we have tried to create, I think, what London has to an extent. It's just we're so spread out geographically. When I go to London, I feel like I can get so much done. And some of the communities, like the outside communities, like Instech, which I think is still kicking around and growing. Lloyd's, obviously, and the Lloyd's Lab. There's so many interesting things that you can do, and you don't have to go too far out of your way to do them. And everybody's coming in to do it. We just don't have that in the US, and it's sad. Like there's no way to recreate it just from a geographic perspective, but it has to be amazing to be able to, it's like, I'm going to step out and I'm going to have 2 pints tonight and have 15 different conversations that could lead to something tomorrow. That's a new idea. I'm very jealous of that, James. And Peter, I guess, to an extent.
Yeah, I think it's very cool. It was probably the single thing that attracted me into the industry as well as a youngster, was that it's very traditional, and the way that Lloyd does stuff is very traditional, but the face-to-face element around that is just was brilliant, and just great to see. And the social relationships that we've been able to form throughout those years, and that's been great. There's still some of those people that when we first met, we're now trading with still.
Yeah, Doug, that is a really interesting point that the two of you were discussing there, which is the recruiting of new people into the industry, which is, I think, something we've hit a few times, and how it's a real challenge. I do think in the States, like you said, distributed, there's so much insurance distributed throughout the country. There are, hubs, within the US, but even within those hubs, it's not going to be the same metro area that is like the classic European metro area where you're going to have, where it's concentrated so much. So even if you're like in the US, you go, you say, all right, well, Manhattan has a considerable number of at least mailboxes listed as insurance companies based in New York, right? That doesn't mean that they're actually there. That doesn't mean that the people are actually mingling. They're not there together. They're not in that pub together. They're not having that time. And so you can get a lot done in New York because you can set 15 different appointments to have conversations with these people, or you can create a great event like I was excluded from recently from the two of you,
the Laura tourist event,
exactly. But
and Scout and FinPro.
Yeah, okay. So everybody but me. Great, thanks. Yeah. But you can put together an event like that in New York, and you can get tons of people, and you can have that experience, but you have to manufacture that experience where it's less manufactured in a place like London. So,
Peter, you just dealt with this, right? Even though there is like a large concentration in New York, like you're actually going from Financial District to Midtown to New Jersey, and probably that triangle is tiring. You just can't. You could do a 5-minute walk and have all of that in London. I feel like, and I mean in the city, right around Lloyd's. So. Yeah, it is too bad. Maybe Richmond should put its hat out as the insurance ecosystem.
Fantastic hub for E&S insurance. However, again, no metro area that's going to be doing that. You're never going to get that.
James, did you know there's a river in Richmond called the James River?
There is.
Yeah.
I didn't know that until a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
There's a famous insurance company based in Richmond called James River.
Yeah.
And I realized.
And to be clear, James did refer to the U.S. as a territory and India and Brazil just a few minutes ago. I was going to point that out in the after show, but he was very clear that we're a territory. And the fact that, of course, we named our river after, those were Englishmen naming it after, English things. Yes. Richmond, which is named after a town or city in England. Mm-hmm. I think, he's got a little bit of a claim to it. It's okay.
Yeah.
Rich is also a very much a part of the Lloyd framework with the Lloyd Sevens every year is held in Richmond, which is an institution, so we say. It's a rugby event and very well attended and lots of opportunities for socializing.
If people know about Richmond in the US, it's probably because of the soccer show. Forgetting the name of it now. What's that Apple soccer show?
Yeah.
Ted Lasso, right?
Ted Lasso. Yeah. I feel like that's the only reason people know in the US know about Richmond now. But yeah, James, I've never gone, but I've heard that's quite the event.
Yeah, very good fun.
James, before Peter gets into his very serious question, what's James get up to for fun? Like, what do you like after the pub? Get a little business done. It sounds like maybe you're doing a little bit of golf here and there. What else do you like to get up to?
More and more badly now these days. I have a young family, so two young kids keeps me very busy, and I'm also a season ticket holder at Manchester United, so that's probably my other passion, which is I'm actually more happy to talk about in the last 6 months. It's been something that I've kept under wraps a little bit, but I feel like we're on the up again.
You're a wank, Doug. That's what he's telling you.
We have some other friends of the show who are Arsenal fans and the Roosters. I'm forgetting their name right now. Tottenham, yeah, sorry. Which are very unfortunate. I feel bad for him every day. But I feel like we need to get all the different soccer clubs represented on the show at some point and kind of let them all fight it out. Peter, who do you support?
I tell you this every week and you always forget. Norwich City.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's easy to forget Norwich.
Very easy to forget, sadly. But James, quite a trip every other weekend up to Manchester.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's good fun. It's a couple of hours on the train. Have a few tinnies on the train, and before you know it,
your trains are going faster than my trains when I come to London.
If they're running on time. Yeah. No, it's all part of the day out. It's good fun.
Yeah. Good. Well, yeah, as Doug alluded to, we like to end this show, James. I don't know if you've ever seen a show of the Age of the MGO before.
Sorry, I have actually.
Haven't made it to the end though. Like, watch for 5 minutes.
First 2 minutes.
What the hell is this?
Yeah, so we like to end with a question about legacy, which you can interpret as you wish. But we'd love to know what you see as your legacy.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple really because we talk about it quite often. It's just to have a business that we feel proud of. So it's like a business that has made money, of course, that's ultimately the goal, but it did it in the right way. So when myself and the other James talk, it's about, that doesn't just mean that we, like I've said before, we only insured these green companies. It's just that, we did it, we looked after our staff, we looked after our capacity providers, and there's loads of other things that we do that kind of gives back to the wider kind of community. So for every policy that we write. For example, we plant at least one tree and we give back with charitable donations out of our profits. So just small aspects like that just creates a business that, yeah, we feel proud of, and that fundamentally is it.
It's lovely.
Yeah, very cool. Well, James, thanks for spending an hour with us. Appreciate it. And yeah, excited to continue to watch the growth. And yeah, hopefully meet in person sometime, grab a pint at a pub in the city. I would say go golfing, but you'll kick my ass. So I don't think I do that right now in my life. But, there's a secret golf event in Ireland that's mostly for InsurTech, but I think we should broaden it out to insurance at large. Peter and Dylan, by the way, are not invited. But
yeah, but when you say secret,
there's two people.
There were two people.
That's how secret it was. It was so maybe not secret, exclusive of the word I want to use.
Yeah.
Which course?
So we played. It was in Galway. So we played one of the two Galway courses. I can't remember the name. And then the Connemara, like hour and a half out. What is that, like northwest, which is beautiful links course. Very difficult for very terrible golfers. Alex was okay. I was real shit, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, what an experience.
Yeah. Cool, James. Well, hey, man, have a great day. Thanks for coming on, and yeah, appreciate your time.
No, thank you. Appreciate the invite.
Thanks very much, James.
Later, buddy.
Good to see you.
Cheers. Bye.
Very cool. Peter, you always bring these classy British guests on, and I think it's just to make me and Dylan feel bad.
I think you should finish the sentence. I bring some guests on, right?
What are you talking about? I bring great guests on. I tell a lot of guests that they're not allowed, but also prospective guests.
Yeah, we've got a lot of good guests coming up. I mean, this season has been intense. Season 2.
Great.
Lamb, yeah.
Yeah.
All over the place, doing a great job.
Guys,
we're doing really good work here. Really good. I don't want to.
We're super humble about it as well.
Yeah. I did miss a question there that I should have asked. And next time we have someone on the show that can answer it. When there is a core system, there's lots of course great things about Lloyd's. But if there are core systems that you're effectively bound to, no pun intended with the insurance part, that could also probably be, and this is really a question, restrictions on what you can do, right? And because if you're bound to someone else's system, can you be as innovative? Can you move as quickly, right? There's clearly a lot of benefits to it, but I was wondering if that's a challenge. So a lot of
there's always been a debate. Yeah.
This is why Lloyd's needs to implement Loro across the entirety of their ecosystem.
Yeah, well, I think there is the debate, and they obviously went through the cycle of Lloyd's about this Blueprint 2 and modernization that just ended up not moving forward for many reasons. But the reality is what you say. I think it brings with it great power and great opportunity, but at the same time, it's quite bureaucratic. I mean, it's a big institution. But would that be that different to say if you're an MGA and you're backed by a big insurer and they put restrictions on you? I'm not sure. Maybe there'd be similarities, right?
What kind of restrictions? Because I don't know of any carriers who are saying you can't build your own system.
I know of fronts that they're very concerned about having to manage that book of business. Or maybe this was more of a 2000s through 2002 thing. Or sorry, 2020 through 2022, I think fronts were concerned about the longevity of some of these MGAs and then having to basically run this thing off and use the system. So we had conversations where they're like, these are the 3 platforms you can use. If you're not interested in that, we're not the right fit for you.
No, sorry, I misunderstood slightly. So Lloyd's cover holders, they pretty much have free reign of what system they use. So we as Loro work with a lot of Lloyd's cover holders around the world who use our platform, and they can use whatever platform makes sense for their business. What I was more talking about is when you use Lloyd's as capacity, there are a lot of requirements, be that reporting or risk appetite or regulations or whatever, that make it a bit more restrictive. And I was kind of making the comparison that is somewhat similar to if you work with an AIG or a Liberty or a Zurich, you're probably going to have similar restraints about what data you must give them, what timelines, what you're permitted to do in terms of retaining money.
But I don't think any of those things are actually restrictive on a company. They're just I need to make sure I've got these data fields and I need to push them every time I need to push them. So I feel it's less about that. But I mean, they were just talking about, for example, the claim system. You send it through, it's going into Lloyd's claim system.
Yeah.
I mean, you could not have, and again, I guess that's my question because I don't know, but if you were required to use a specific system and a certain flow and for your claims, you'll never have the automation that can come with doing it with a partner that is capable of bringing
Reserve.
Reserve, which I believe they again work with Lloyd's cover holders. So I'm not sure exactly how that piece works. But if there are steps before them getting it, if you can't remove those steps, then that's always a barrier and it's always something that's slow. And I'm just wondering how that works and how they can improve that.
I think a big piece of it is using systems that are easy to connect and get data out of. And traditionally that was never the case, right? But nowadays that should be standard, that you get great API documentation and everything, which I know Reserve do, and we certainly do, and Tourist do. All these modern companies that were built fairly recently, they give you this ability to talk to other systems with that in mind, that everyone has some kind of requirement that data must be sent there. And Lloyd's just happens to have that for certain workflows. Yeah.
We have a nifty little Lloyd's report that we built, actually, with the help of our good friend Kanan.
Nice.
Oh, the Lloyd's bordereau. Yeah.
Yeah, there was always asking for certain things. Those Lloyd's guys always asking.
There's a long list of information. Yeah, we do similar, but it's heavy.
You do similar, but better.
Do you know what we just did, by the way, which is unique? We just had a conversation about insurance after the conversation. Yeah,
that never happens.
That's rare. Yeah. That's rare. It usually
off
devolves
our
quickly.
game.
Yeah,
We're off our game right now, guys.
we all just we're so passionate about insurance, we can't stop talking about it.
Dare we say it was a fairly informative episode for people this time.
Great.
It was. Guys, when we throw on our next big party, and can we get Dylan involved in this next one?
I don't know if I want to.
Big cat involved.
Right.
Yeah. Well, my big next party is in London, actually, 23rd of April. We're hosting a Lotto paddle tournament.
Oh, yeah.
Drinks after. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what tournament?
I'm laughing because Alex was texting me yesterday. He's like, what the hell is Peter on about, this like paddle tournament? Like, I just want to go drink.
Yeah, we can also drink.
I don't know what that is. What is a paddle tournament?
It's like a cross between tennis and pickleball type thing.
Okay. All right. So is it like squash? Is that what we would call it here?
Yeah, it's paddle, Dylan. It's
like similarities to
Okay.
squash.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Google it.
Yeah.
Claude it.
Yeah. Okay, Doug.
Yeah. We'll put some important links to the podcast, including what is paddle. Yeah.
Paddle is.
Doug doesn't know how to use his terminal, and now he's.
I have no idea. I've never seen it before. I know it's its own thing. It's a thing on its own. But I've never watched it.
Then we've got very important, not that anyone's listening at an hour 10 minutes in, but Scout. We're definitely going to be doing up big there in May. That's just, oh my God, that's next month. Jesus. Time flies.
It's coming up. Well, 6 weeks.
Yeah. And then
next month in May. Yeah.
And then obviously in Las Vegas, I believe Laura is becoming part of the sponsorship for the after party for ITC.
We would love to. We'd love to have that honor.
Yeah. Let's do that. Last one. I think we're going to.
Hey, Peter, see how inclusive I am and where I'm inviting you to be part of something instead of, just having a party without me?
Yeah.
Well, that is the party. I mean, forget whoever the musical band is at the closing party. You guys are the place
to be. We have similar number of people in our suite than what are at the party.
At the party. Yeah. Definitely a fire hazard. Lots of claims. We're trying to make some claims.
Yeah.
Dylan's on hand for that FNOL.
I just walk around with a fire extinguisher, just mostly because Tony Kanyas is catching Doug's face on fire, but
my face on fire, trying to light a cigarette. What a rock stars, like it's that commercial of the rock stars in the office. Or the office people, the losers, the real rock stars doing stuff.
Yeah. That's how I think of ourselves when we do this show. Absolutely.
Losers or rock stars?
Yes.
Somewhere, I was gonna say losers.
Somewhere in between, closer to losers. Yeah.
On the spectrum. Guys, I got a tough trip next week. I'm not gonna lie. I have to go to the Virgin Islands, hang out with TJ.
Oh,
it's gonna be rough. It is going to be rough. I will let you know how it goes. We're gonna have TJ on the show soon, trying to get his deal made here.
So. Interesting.
Yeah, I had a chat with him yesterday. I said he needs to come on. So.
Yeah.
He said his podcast took inspiration from the age of the MGA.
By the way, let's plug his podcast quickly. I forgot I told him I would do that. The platform podcast at Accelerant. If you're not working with Accelerant, you should. If you can get in,
Yeah.
They are an amazing company. TJ and the crew there, Adam, are doing great work with the platform, all the different services that they have. Tourist is one. Wait, no, sorry. Is it this way? Tourist is one of them. When you're telling a
can't
secret,
see.
you don't do it
We
this
lost
way.
you.
This is, you want people to know. This is, I don't want anybody to know.
This
Yeah,
is very
this is-
visually powerful for the people listening on Spotify.
We need to talk about one other really important thing. I know this keeps going on, but very important. Peter, you found someone who had named us on LinkedIn and hit us with a.
Oh, yeah.
Can we pull that up? Where does anyone have that up?
Well, listen, because people are falling asleep. Let's save this for next time.
All right.
It's
Sounds
good for
good.
us to have something to talk about next time.
We
So
will
do.
forget about this for next time. You know that.
I mean, I wrote a note down here already. It's ready to go. I've got that in my stack of notes.
Very
All
good.
right, let's
Very good.
end this.
More
Let's end
episodes
this.
soon. Yep.
Yeah, we got
Bye,
episodes
everyone.
coming up. Do not stop watching.
Like, subscribe, follow. We love it.
Probably should have said that at the beginning. No one's listening
buy
now.
my merch. We're gonna have a merch page up soon. Pre-order merch. Let us just
2028.
email us and let us know what you want. 2029. Let's not get ahead of ourselves, Peter. All right, guys. Have a good day.
Good night.